Henson's your name, isn't it? Oh,
It is indeed, darling.
good. I think we're live. Are we live, Stephen?
You are now, yeah.
Oh, thank you, love. Good morning, everybody that is watching on listening live, and for anyone that's going to catch the replay, everyone that's listening on the radio, welcome to this really beautiful sunny morning with the wonderfully, beautifully sunny Rachael Henson. This lady she's a definite earth worker. Me and her met back in
2019, wasn't it?
2019. Worked together, and you know when you just gel with someone instantly, and
Yeah.
like we're souls from another time together, definitely.
Oh, without a doubt.
This beautiful, like, do you know what? I'm not going to do the whole introductory thing. Like, I think the best way to explain you is for you to explain you. What is it you do, Rachael?
Well, do you know what? I've been asking myself that for years, Liz, and I don't know if I've come up with the ultimate answer, to be fair. I think with regards to my spiritual journey, I've definitely been very low key because I didn't know anything about it and I didn't really realise what was going on. You know, and you hear this so often, people saying, oh, yeah, when I was little, I had some, episodes and I just sort of, tried to make sense of it and whatever. And at first you think, well, surely, like you went for help or you asked somebody or whatever. But I realised that's exactly how it started for me. I didn't understand what was happening. And my mom didn't understand it either. I mean, she, it later transpired that she has had a gift. I mean, she's passed now, bless her, but I still talk to her, obviously. But she, just couldn't help me. She'd got, obviously I came from sort of a big family. There was, other sisters and a brother to look after. And she was always constantly on the go. So I couldn't just sit down with her and say, Mom, I think I see dead people. It's a lot easier nowadays to do that, with all the information.
So when you say episodes, was that what was going on? You were seeing, you was physically, not physically seeing people, but
it was having dreams in the day, basically, is what it was. But of course, again, it's only years later when I start on that journey to sort of go, well, is there anybody out there that can help me? Is there anybody that can make sense of what I think was happening? Because again, time plays tricks on your minds as well. Like years ago, I'm 32 now. I mean, if you believe that, you believe anything. But years ago, it was literally, well, it wasn't discussed. It wasn't really. Yeah, it's not as open and out there as it is now. I mean, you've got it everywhere, basically. Everybody's a psychic, everybody's a medium. I don't mean that in a detrimental sense, but what I mean is that it's great, because more and more people are opening up to their gifts and saying, right, I want to sort of push a bit of a pathway and see if I can help people. And ideally, that's what it should be for. But yeah, going back to when I was young, I mean, the doctors used to just put it down to my age, nightmares. I used to have night terrors. And of course, kids do have night terrors. But these were literally night terrors in as much as it was still light outside when I was in bed. There were people walking around in my room, coming out of the walls and trying to talk. It was terrifying.
Must have been really scary.
It was terrifying. It was terrifying. And I think what I did is, trying to sort of remember exactly how I did it. I started just to say to them, you're scaring me. Please don't scare me. Please don't do this. And it started to dissipate then and slowly sort of, not that it ended completely. I would still turn around suddenly and just see somebody that nobody else could see. But yeah, it just started to sort of slow down, if you like, and I felt better. But then what I learned from a really, I've had some lovely teachers, don't get me wrong, but this one teacher in particular said, you do realise that what you've done by just saying, look, you're scaring me, you were saying to spirit, I really don't like the way you're working with me. I need you to work with me different. But of course, I couldn't say that because I didn't know that's how you do it. But I just said, look, you're scaring me. And so they started to work with me in a different way. It was then sort of auditory. I'd hear people. So you'd be like, what's going on? You can imagine in school it was a bit difficult. The teachers possibly, you know, felt that I was being not disruptive, but I weren't paying attention because I'd be off in another dream like state, if you like, looking out the window. And the amount of times on my report, it was like, you know, she'd be better if she paid more attention. But of course I was looking out the window and I was listening, but yeah, again, you just don't. Yeah. And plus I didn't want to say anything because, you know, people used to people would think I was nuts. Yeah, exactly. And my mum even used to say that, don't you dare mention anything like this outside the house, because if you do, the men in white coats will come and they'll take you away. Well, of course, that frightened me as a child. So I thought, okay, better keep it all to myself, you know. But there was still that sort of real urge inside that I wasn't doing what I was meant to be doing, you know. And I think you'll find that with a lot of mediums, they'll say that this real dissatisfaction, and you feel disjointed. You really do. You feel disjointed. That's just my feeling. I don't know whether anybody else would agree with that, but I felt really disjointed. I felt as if I was there, but I wasn't really there. Ever so strange, you know. You feel as if you're an outsider, even with really daft as it sounds, but more so with my family, because obviously you want to fit in more with your family and you want to, you know, you expect that sort of closeness and that sort of understanding. But of course they didn't understand because I didn't understand, and it was just a vicious circle, you know. But yeah,
really scary. I mean, really scary as a child, you know, have all those experiences going on and not be able to take that anywhere. And I personally, and I'm not an expert, do believe that children are more connected spiritually because they're not so tainted. You know, then we're not, you know, especially when we're younger, we're not, you know, influenced by outside things, society, world, and how it's supposed to be, you know. And I do believe because we are pure of soul that we're more connected when we're younger. And for some, that continues into adulthood, doesn't it? Like it did for you.
Yes, and we can all do it. We can all, you know, we've all got the gift of intuition. We've all got, you know, that connection. We've all been here before. Again, if you don't believe in reincarnation, I'm not here to teach you, you know, anything other than what you believe in. We're all free souls and all the rest of it. But with our past lives, obviously, we've already been doing all that we're doing now as mediums, but we just had to learn again and, you know, just bring on a whole sort of new way of working. It doesn't help when society obviously labels things that we do as a cult, and, you know, and obviously all the horror films that you watch and stuff like that, which I love, by the way, but I didn't like them as a child, but I love them now. But they give a really sort of a sort of a skewed way of the way that it is. It's that, you know, and it's like, oh, really scary. Don't get me wrong, some of it is scary, of course it is, and you still gotta, you know, you gotta protect yourself, and you can't be silly about this. Let's face it, you're dealing with the unknown. But it doesn't have to be as scary as what perhaps we've, you know, perceived over the years. But it's no wonder, you know, we all get confused and we all have to look at which direction we're going in, and, you know, all the rest of it. So yeah, it is difficult, most difficult. And I would say to anybody that perhaps is feeling, oh, do you know what, I feel as though there's something there, and I do get some sort of signs, or I do get this, to get that, you know, why not discover it? Why not go to somewhere like a development circle, which is what I did, and just talk to like-minded people and just see what comes of it, what comes of the way that you perhaps are sort of destined, if you like, for want of a better word, to work with spirit, you know. But again, it's not for everybody. They get these sort of like signs and they get these ideas, but they just, you know, sort of suppress them because they don't really want to get involved. That's fine. Again, that is down to them. Yeah. Free will.
So you touched on reincarnation and like we're saying it's, you know, everyone's beliefs, but let's remove everybody else's beliefs and explain to me, like, you know, in your belief in the whole reincarnation thing, because I'm intrigued.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've done a lot of sort of like research, studying and whatever, because anything that fascinates me, I'm like, you know, I'm just like a sponge, like a lot of people. So with reincarnation, you know, the evidence that supports reincarnation for me, and it is just for me, is just too much to sort of just put aside. You know, children that have literally been speaking to their parents and telling them about grandparents that they've never met, but they're telling them, you know, things that their grandparents have said, things that their grandparents have owned, even describing where, you know, maybe their grandparents lived, things that they just could not know about, but they've been reincarnated and they're literally in touch with, you know, with spirit still through that. On a personal experience, my daughter Melissa, my youngest daughter Melissa, I mean, all my girls are gifted anyway, but Melissa used to basically say when she was younger, we'd take her out, I don't know, you know, to a medieval castle, or it didn't even have to be that, but, you know, it could have been anywhere. And she would know the way, and we're like, but we've not took you here before. Yeah, I do, I know the way. And what you do is you turn left and there's a little door there. And she'd tell you things and you'd be like, okay, that's fair enough. And she even said to my oldest daughter, she even said to Faye, I remember you when you were little. So, I mean, you know, there's been sort of like first-hand experience of that sort of, you know, sort of thing. But reincarnation for me makes perfect sense. Why? Yeah, if we never die, which I believe that we don't, you know, we started at spirit, we've come back as, you know, to live a human existence, to learn lessons that we, you know, that we perhaps left in our previous life, and we're going to learn them now. Why doesn't that make sense? You know, it makes perfect sense to me. But yeah, to keep reliving and learning the experiences. And, you know, that sort of deja vu feeling and stuff like that, that's undeniable. You sort of get that feeling, oh, do you know what, I've been here before, or I know you, I've seen you before. You know, there's just, for me, with all the research that I've done and all the interest that I have, some of it quite morbid, I must admit, but some of it is like, you know, really enlightening. But all that sort of interest that I've had and all the readings that I've done, and, you know, speaking to people as well about their own personal experiences, which I absolutely love. No, to me, it's just, it makes sense. It makes perfect sense that we've been here before.
Because there's something you said to me about, you know, about lessons that that I still needed to learn from my previous life. And in terms of incarnation, we leave a human existence, we go back to spirit, and then we come back to learn those lessons that we didn't learn last time. Like you also said, on my life, I've got an uphill struggle. Yes, everybody, I do. So is that in terms of reincarnation, we might come back into a different body, but we're still landing with the same spirit?
Yeah, definitely. With right, that's how I feel anyway. And you could end up in, you know, in another body, other side of the world or whatever, but there's a purpose for it. There's a real purpose, and of course one that's greater than even, you know, than anybody can perceive, because we're not there, we're not in spirit yet, and, you know, we've not come back to sort of like explain about it. Having said that, you know, obviously great mediums in the past have, you know, tapped into that and given a much broader sort of spectrum of possibilities than I could even, you know, begin to imagine me being able to do. But yeah, the evidence is just so strongly connected to things of, you know, of that nature, reincarnation, for us to deny. The way that we deny it is because sometimes we're afraid and we think, well, yeah, it makes me feel funny, I don't like the idea of it, you know, so we'll sort of squash it, which is fine. And you know, that's a coping mechanism that we've, you know, that's evolved with us. That's fine. Scientists, obviously, you know, they'll study it, and they'll basically want to make sure that it, you know, it falls in the parameters of science and whatever. There is good evidence there, though, that scientists have, you know, been able to prove life after death. But yeah, so we have to make sense of it all, and I understand that, but I still can't deny the real deep sort of down belief that I have, the sort of the knowing, you know, I just feel that I know it. So yeah, so I sort of stick to that, and it gives me comfort. It really, really does. And when I'm speaking to, like, you know, my relatives that have passed, my brother, my mom, who have become some, you know, a type of guide for me as well, and, you know, they come through to other mediums in any of the readings that I have, you know, and again, I can't dispute that. I just can't dispute any of that, because they'll say things like, you know, that obviously the medium has got no way of knowing. And again, you know, I had a reading the other week, and the medium actually said, "Oh, your mum and your brother are saying, are you going to get that door fixed that's squeaking?" Well, it's the wardrobe. It's my wardrobe door, and every time I open it, it makes a squeak. But when they said that, I just sort of went, "Yeah, okay, I'll get it fixed." And then I just put some oil on it. And when I was putting the oil on it, I was going, "Is that all right? Is that better?" You know, it's not squeaking now. But yeah, it's just, you know, it's just what you believe in. But it's nice to feel and to see that when somebody has got a real disbelief. I'm not saying that, you know, I'd really sort of, you know, go against their beliefs. Everybody's got their beliefs and they're entitled to them. But it's lovely to know that if people are saying, "Well, I've got a bit of a disbelief, but can you explain a little bit more about it? Can you, you know, tell me a little bit more about your experiences?" And then they'll come back to you, which has happened. You've got a lot of orbs around you.
Do you know what? Like, Rachel,
yeah.
I was really hoping that was going to happen.
Yeah, you've got spirit.
I've had a couple of guests.
I've got me psychic chills, so you've definitely got people around you there. But the orbs are magnificent, most definitely. But
yeah, they happened last time. I had two great coaches come on, Vicky and Dante, and they actually sort of mentioned them, and I said that's a whole nother show. Like, and I was like thinking, I hope they come on today because I see them a lot. Because I am completely self-obsessed, so I do look at myself. So I always see them; they're everywhere. And I don't ever feel, because I'm about energy. Like I'm not a spiritualist. I don't have your gifts or anything like that. But I'm about energy, and I know
you do, Liz, you do. But obviously, all it takes is a bit of development and stuff. But again, it's so wide and so vast the way that you can develop that, you know, we each have to find our niche. But you have got you're an energy worker.
I can feel the energy from them. Actually, they're quite playful, if I'm being honest. And I sometimes think maybe they're children because they're really once. Oh my God, this is going to, but I don't care. I'm going to just put it out there. Once I was going up the stairs and I had to run because it felt like someone was chasing me, but not chasing me in a sense of fearful, but like a game of tag. A game of tag. And I went upstairs, look behind me, and I was in the house by myself. So they're quite playful, whoever they are. I'll give them that. But,
definitely.
That's what I wanted to ask.
Never to hurt anyway. I mean, you know, again, when people are a bit afraid and a bit concerned, and I really, really do understand it. We've all, you know, I've been there and I've been scared by it, so I know what it's like. But definitely the intention is never to hurt. It's only to uplift and, you know, and to make themselves known, or the fact that there is continued life, you know, it's the message that they're trying to give. But why shouldn't there be, like, you know, playful orbs around you as well? Because you're a very entertaining social person anyway, so they're going to be drawn to that, which is great.
I think because I'm quite silly myself. Absolutely. And you mentioned about that, and please excuse me for forgetting, you called it something. You engaged with a circle of, so that you could talk to like-minded people. What was that circle called?
Just development circles, or an awareness circle. Yeah.
And when did you find that?
Well, I think it was about, I'm trying to think. Prior to that, I'd read an awful lot because I was afraid of going to somewhere. I remember it clearly, actually. I've been studying quite a bit about, you know, psychic phenomena and all this stuff, but I was going too deep. I was literally thinking to myself after a period of time, maybe a couple of years, I think what I'm doing is I'm perhaps going way beyond my capabilities, so that's why I'm not getting it and I'm not really understanding it and whatever. But I read a lot of medium books as well. I mean, there's some fantastic mediums out there. It's unbelievable, you know, the amount of knowledge that they're willing to share, because that's what it's about. You know, Gordon Smith, for instance, you know, he literally gives guided lessons on, you know, starting your own circle and you know, and developing your own sort of spiritual gifts and stuff like that. So, you know, books and audio tapes, things like that. But then I went to a psychic fair because, of course, you know, you're drawn to all that. And basically the medium there that was giving me a reading just sort of kept staring and saying, "You do realise that you can do this as well?" And I'm like, "Do what?" And he's like, "Well, do what I'm doing." And I'm like, "I don't think I can." "Yeah, I think you can. And what you need to do is you need to maybe go to a development circle." And I was like, "Okay, well, how do I find that?" And he gave me some, you know, pointers and whatever. put down a couple of other things on the note, and I've still got the note because I keep everything. And it was things like, you know, get some oracle cards or tarot cards and just start playing with those, numerology and all the stuff that really, you know, when he handed me on a piece of paper, I thought, those are the things I love. So I started working along there. But then when I eventually joined an awareness circle, it was by chance again. Well, it's not chance, it was meant to be, but it's called coincidence.
Yeah.
But it's called coincidence. I literally parked up in a shopping area that I didn't really want to do any shopping, but I just thought, okay, I'm parking up in here, I might as well just go and get something. Was drawn to a shop window, and there was just a little notice on the window saying development circle for psychics or whatever, I forget the exact wording, and it was in Hall Green, and at the time I was living in Shirley, so I thought, okay, text them, never thinking, oh, do you know what, they'll get back to me. 2 weeks later, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, there you go. So, you know, I've done my bit. I've tried to see whether I could maybe do anything. But then the lady rang me, and I started going to the awareness circle, which was a bit daunting, because when you go, the mediums that are there already, you know, taking the class, and there are people there that can really connect with spirit. So you're there and you're thinking, I'm not meant to be here, because I can't, I'm sure I can't do anything that she's going to ask me to do. But she started off very gradually by just getting us to do a bit of a visualization in our head. And the visualization was a really good method for me, because it basically turned on a switch. And all it was she said, picture your house, picture where you're living, go around the rooms, look at the, you know, what you've got in the rooms, the ornaments, whatever, go from one room to the next, tell us what you see, you know, when we sort of come back out of meditation, tell us what you see and we'll discuss it. Well, in the visualization that I was doing, I could see very clearly all the colours. I could see like orbs around in my head in the meditation, but I could also see people in my house that I didn't know. So when I came back out of meditation, and we all sort of had the turn of saying what we've seen, I sort of described the person that I've seen. She's, okay, tell me a little bit more, build on it. And then she basically made me understand that what I'd seen was spirit. I was literally seeing spirit. They were connecting with me, and they were here to give a message to somebody in the group. So it started like that. But, you know, after I'd done that, I still was like, oh no, I still don't think I could do that. Because again, you see other people get up and sort of like, you know, give out this reading, and you're like, I don't think I'll ever be like that. But of course it takes time, doesn't it? It really takes time. But it was wonderful. And again, all the teachers that I've had, you know, I can't thank them enough, because they really are, they're just amazing. You know, they've not only sort of developed their gifts, but they're teaching others how to develop theirs. So it's really down to them that, you know, that you're able to do anything really. But yeah.
You also read objects, don't you?
Yes, I love psychometry. Yeah, definitely. So what we do on some of the awareness groups that I've been in, and even now, I'll say to people, you know, like when I'm ready to do a reading, I connect with spirit, and I'd connect with my guides, and I just say, okay, can I have permission to work with this person? I mean, they're going to give permission anyway, but you know what I mean. So you just sort of you honour the spirits that you're going to be working with in your team. And sometimes they'll say, okay, work with cards or work with, you know, an object. So I'll say to the person, okay, if you want to bring an object, and it's obviously you can still do it online, I can still feel the energy of that object and pick up on, you know, on the psychic relevance of that object and who it belonged to and all that. But it's lovely feeling the object, because you can really, really feel the energy. So what you do is you sort of base your reading around, or part of it around, that person that owned that object, and give the messages in that way. And it brings a lot of comfort, it really does, because especially if the object is, you know, something that maybe belonged to your mum, and, you know, your mum passed, and you just have got so much grief, you know, bottled up inside. But then to be able to give a message of comfort and upliftment, you know, to that person, it's just wonderful. But it's just a tool, you know, it's psychometry, it's just a tool like the oracle cards, but you're still connecting, you know, with your psychic side and with spirit as well. But it's just really to give the recipient, you know, the comfort, and to take them in the direction that they, you know, that they feel they want to go in. Certainly, I'm never going to be the type of medium, and I don't know of any medium that would push, you know, in a certain direction if the recipient says, "Oh no, I don't want to go there," because the readings can be just psychic, and they just can be sort of working on people's energy. There are some people that come to me and I say to them, "Are you happy if I connect with spirit?" And they're like, "No, I'd rather you didn't." "No, that's fine. Okay, we'll just go," you know. So you can't just assume that everybody's going to come to you and want that reading, you know, to connect with spirit, because they're still afraid, they're still not quite ready. And likewise, when you have somebody that says, "Yeah, that's fine, I'd love to connect with, you know, mom, dad, whoever," but then connection is not there, you know, as much as I try, the connection is not there. Now, generally, there can be a reason for this. It could be just that, you know, I'm not tuning in right. But I think after all the years that I've done it, that's probably the last sort of thing that, you know, you think of now. It may be that spirit, in their ultimate wisdom, are saying that person is not ready to hear from us yet. That person is still basically trying to get to grips with, you know, what happened and how it happened. It could have been a really traumatic, you know, well, I mean, every passing is a traumatic passing, of course, is to the loved ones that you leave behind, but there could be an element of their passing that would cause more grief, if you know what I mean. So spirit, in their wisdom, sort of just go, "Do you know what, it's not time." So you have to, you know, you do have to sort of think of that as well. And again, just get, you know, really working with your guys, which is what, again, these awareness circles and development circles, you know, help you do. You latch on to the ideas that that's how you're going to work, and that's what will get you get you really connected with spirit. But you've got to do it as well. You've got to dedicate. It's like a therapy, Liz. If I'm honest, it's like therapy. You know, once you think, okay, I've made my mind up, I'm going to follow this path that, you know, has been sort of like nagging away at me. You've got to treat it like a therapy. You've got to be focused. You've got to give it all your attention. You've still got to live your human existence, of course. You've still got to do the, you know, the mundane jobs and things, and you know, life's got to carry on as normal. But you've got to sort of treat it with respect, you know, to get the best out of it. Most definitely.
Yeah, definitely. It was very interesting when you did a reading for me yesterday.
Oh, hope it was okay.
No, it was interesting in terms of when you said about connecting with spirit, and then the person that came through, I was actually really shocked about that, and not because of this person there was any wrongdoing or anything. The relationship was just not. We just, you know. But since then, it's been like flashes, and I can't really say they're memories. Can't really say that there's a story behind, but there are flashes of this person. I was talking to a friend about it this morning, funnily enough, and it's almost like this gate's been open, and I'm really aware of her presence.
Yeah, because she did say she was really pleased, didn't she, that she had sort of like broken the ice, if you like. And again, there was no animosity. I didn't feel that at all, and that's good. But
no, we just didn't have. For those that don't know, for those that don't know what we're talking about, my grandmother came to her, and I didn't have a relationship with her, not because of any brokenness within our relationship, just because it's how our family was, and it was very fractured. But she was always a very kind and nice lady. What I only remember when I was a small child. But since then, it's like the gate has been open. She's been in my thinking. I've been getting these flashes of memories. And I had a meditation last night in the bath, because I like to do meditation in the bath, and just like
water.
Oh, no, it's great. Like, obviously, I'm not falling asleep for those at health and safety. But I just find it really, have a bath, have a candle on, you know, I have some meditation music on, and I meditate. And she kept coming in, and the colour yellow kept coming up, and I just thought, isn't that interesting? But then a real sense of comfort, like a real sense of, I had some energy healing. God, it's all about me now. Had some energy healing the other day, and the lady said to me, it's like you need to be mothered. And in the meditation last night, when my grandmother kept coming through, it was a feeling, that calm feeling of being held by a mother. And I thought, isn't that interesting?
It is. It's lovely. And yellow was very prominent. Remember, I said as well, didn't I, that she brought yellow with her, and, you know, yellow flowers and stuff like that. So yeah, that's indicating that the healing is being done in a certain sort of place for you. But you need it. I mean, spirit are so wise, you know, they never bring anything to you that you think, you might think at first, oh, I don't really need that, but they know better. They know that you do, yeah. But that's lovely that it's sort of opened up that, you know, that sort of communication with you. But it's like anything, it's opened an awareness, and until we're aware of something, we're not gonna go down that path, are we? We're not going to explore it and stuff like that. But I mean, I've even had in readings, you know, people from the past, I've given, you know, to the recipient, that were just a neighbour, and they perhaps, you know, saw them 2 or 3 times in their life, and couldn't remember. But because I always say to people, look, you know, write notes, or let me, you know, record it so that you can listen to it sort of as time goes on. Because even in my own readings with other mediums, when they, you know, do me a reading, I'll be like, oh no, I can't place them, I've got no idea who you're on about. Couple of months later, you listen to it again and you're like, oh yeah, I remember I used to work with her. But again, you know, it could be, so it could be people that have been in your life for a, you know, short space of time, or you've not really had much to do with them, but now that they're on, you know, on in the spirit world, they're there to lend their support and to guide and to help. You know, it may be a very small part. It doesn't have to be, you know, a huge part, because we've all got our spirit guides anyway. We're assigned spirit guides when we're born. But, you know, it may be a small part, but necessary at that stage in your life to have that small intervention. So it's just wonderful that, you know, it could be either a big intervention, like Grandma's proving. She's obviously going to be around you a lot more. She did say that she's going to come in on a lot more readings as well, isn't she, to give you some more guidance as well. I mean, she did say that you're a powerhouse. She didn't feel like you need as much guidance as perhaps, you know, others, but but nevertheless, she's there. And isn't it wonderful to think that, you know what, I mean, I never knew my dad. I never knew my real dad, and this is just bearing testament to the fact that you can get to know spirit, or rather you can get to know somebody that is connected to you on the earth plane through spirit more than you did on the earth plane. I never knew my dad, a series of like complications, whatever reasons. But since I've been doing, you know, more sort of like concentrated mediumship and going to mediums for readings and things like that, I remember the one lady who's a lovely friend of mine as well. We're not as in touch as we were before, but again, life gets in the way. Her name's Tammy Byrne, and she's an excellent medium. She just comes out with information that you're like, I can't even write it down quickly enough. She's just amazing. But I remember meeting her at one of the like seminars we went to, workshops, whatever. And it was a wonderful meeting because she was late. But, you know, like you said at the beginning, I got that connection. She walked in and I remember thinking, I like you. I really like you. And I'd love you to give me a reading because I feel you've got something really, you know, strong to give me. And it wouldn't move. That feeling would just not move throughout the workshop. I mean, I got, you know, obviously I carried on with everything that we were doing, but that feeling was there. And you know what I mean when I say. So we got paired up. Again, isn't that a coincidence? We got paired up straight away. She went, I've got your dad here. And I went, oh, well, that's good because I've never met him, but nice to think that, you know, you've met him first. But anyway, she said, well, whether you've met him or not, and she's a no nonsense sort of medium, whether you've met him or not, he's here, right? And he's saying this and he's saying that. And, you know, she was giving me loads of information that I could really, really take. But then she described him, which was great because I thought, well, that's really good because Mum would never talk about him. And again, I don't want to talk about the circumstances on here, but at the end of the day, she never would talk about him. She would never, you know, sort of open up. But she described him. She described him, you know, his age, when he passed. He died of a massive heart attack. I'm a heart patient myself as well. So there you can see the inheritance. But also the fact that he was guiding me. Now, the one thing that she said as well that was really, really, you know, sort of like made me feel all tingly all over was I'd just gone for training as a Reiki therapist. I've since become sort of a Reiki master, but the first therapy that I had was with a lady who did that as well as mediumship. But when she was doing an attunement and you're sort of lying on the Reiki bed and she's doing this attunement, just feeling where the energy spots are, this, that and the other, my heart did a double beat. And it's the first time I've ever experienced that, even though I'm a heart patient, it's not that sort of heart problem. But it literally did a double beat that was really, really strong, really, really pronounced. And the lady who was doing the Reiki, Gail Millington, fantastic medium as well. Shout out to her, as well as a Reiki teacher. She went, "Oh, what was that?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know. It was just like, my heart." And she went, "Oh, I felt that. I felt that. It was as if there was like somebody trying to connect with you." And I went, "Oh, okay." Never thought anything of it. Months later, I met Tammy, and she's given me this reading. And my dad said to her, when that double beat happened, it was me. I was there with you. And
Oh, wow.
But he described it. He described exactly what I felt. And he said, at that precise moment, I was there because I want you to notice me more, because I'm going to be invaluable to your development as well. And I'm like, oh, okay. So again, I've wrote notes, took it all down, blah, 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 gone home and whatever. But the biggest feeling I had was, my dad's been in touch. My dad, I've never known my dad, blah, blah. But since I've done DNA ancestry and stuff like that, and she said that there was a Scottish, sort of connection there. Again, I'd forgot about that. I'd written all the other bits and pieces down. All I kept thinking was, my dad, he got in touch, But yeah, since I'd done a DNA ancestry test, apparently I'm 52% Scottish, which I never knew. But it's because of my dad. And I'm like, wow, this is just amazing.
This is a whole other side I'm completely unaware of.
Yeah, completely unaware. It caught me by surprise, but again, it was wonderful. But then I think I was saying to somebody the other week as well, the downside of being able to sort of speak to, for me anyway, the downside of being able to speak to relatives that have passed is my mum passed in 2014, my brother in 2013, but my mum came through to me in a flash, basically. She was just there. I could feel her, I could smell her, I could, I just knew she was there. And she started talking to me, and it was great. It was fantastic until it finished, when she said, I'm going to be here, I'm going to be helping you, blah, blah, blah. And mediums have said the same, oh, your mum's here. She said that she always likes to pop in. I said, oh, yeah, she does. But what made it like the downside for me, I've got over it now, I'll be honest with you, Liz, but at the time, it was still, her death is still raw anyway. I've only got to look at a photo and, I'm there again. And it's the same with all my sisters and everything. But yeah, so basically what upset me, I think, most was I could see her. I could feel her sort of energy, if you like. But she's not there. I can't touch her. I can't, sort of take her out in the car and would go for a coffee or whatever and have a real good laugh, because she's got a fantastic sense of humour, a really wicked sense of humour. She'd really wind people up and stuff. But yeah, so it hurt more. So for a while, I did say to my mum, just let me, get myself together before you make contact again, because it is too sort of raw still. But now I'll do it and I'll connect with her, and I'm okay with it. I've managed to sort of level myself out there and just say, give myself a talking to. What are you doing? Obviously, that she can't sort of connect with you in a physical way, but how much are you happy that she's connecting with you in this way? And I am. So yeah.
There's elements of comfort, but there's also elements of pain there, isn't there? It's not just I get comfort because she's here. Actually, there's great sadness because she was mum and she's not here anymore. And with death, there is actual sadness, isn't there? Yeah.
Definitely.
So, what's your mission when you're taking this out into the world? And what is the mission? Like, what is the purpose? What is your purpose?
Yeah. Well, for me, it's about helping people, definitely, because I've always been, unfortunately, what I was as a youngster, I was a people pleaser, only because, again, of the circumstances of my growing up and all the rest of it. So I became a people pleaser because that was easier for me to operate. But then since I realised that being a people pleaser is not really feeding my soul, I've now become less of a people pleaser, but more of a helper. I'm a healer as well, so I love doing healing. And healing isn't just about laying your hands on somebody and letting spirit come through, or doing the Reiki and whatever. It's with words as well. So I'm always acutely aware of when somebody needs just either a hug around the shoulder or a few words of comfort. And you know, and I think everybody has got that obviously in them as well, and it's lovely when they do sort of, you know, reach out to other people. But my purpose is every reading that I do, I'm hoping, well, in fact I know through spirit and through their connection, that I do give upliftment, that I do give to that person that's, you know, that's had the reading, a form of healing, a form of sort of, you know, either closure if it's a connection with spirit that they perhaps have, you know, had a little bit of a bad experience with, and or they never had chance to say goodbye or something like that. You know, there's there that evidence to say, look, you know, don't beat yourself up. This is what's happening. We're still around you. But for me, that's the greatest feeling. I can honestly say that when I've done a reading and somebody has said, that's brought me some calmness, that's brought me some relief. And it heals me too, because again, you know, I'm giving it out, but of course I'm receiving it, so it's giving me healing as well. But there's a lot more to do as well, Liz. I mean, again, this journey that, you know, that any of us are on, there's always something, isn't there? There's always something around the corner. There's always something that crops up in your head that you think that you put there, and it might not be you putting it there. It's, you know, more often than not, spirit going, oh, you realise you're about to be, like, you know, going down this path now or whatever. But there's always something different, and it branches off, doesn't it? So for me, it's just it's really that. It's about learning about myself more, which is what I had to do at the beginning. I had to learn about myself because I'd kept myself pretty much closed. And again, even the tutors used to say that, I want to see you, and I'm like, I'm here. No, you're not. What you're doing is you're putting over a persona that you think we're going to accept, but we want to see you. So you can't hide from a medium like that. They, you know, they really, really know you. So I've got to know me a little bit more, but of course there's that, again, a journey that will continue. But I want to learn more about the soul, about, you know, the Akashic records, the Bible of our lives and things like that. I'm quite drawn to shamanism now as well. And where I work on a Saturday at the Soul Angels in Hall Green, or like mind. Oh, am I not allowed to say that? I do apologise.
No. I was just about to say, give them a shout out. An amazing place.
Well,
yeah, no, absolutely.
They're an amazing group of people who every single one of them, it's not just the shop, it's not just the coffee shop, you've been there as well. It's an energy, isn't it? So you walk in and you feel immediately that, you know, you're going to have either the therapies, the readings, whatever, but they're a community spirit as well. So, you know, I was drawn to that as soon as I saw the opening for that. I knew that was coming next. And again, you know, speaking to my guides, you're going to be doing this, you're going to be doing that. So I'm there sort of every Saturday. I work there, but I also do readings as well. But yeah, so you're drawn to all that. You're drawn to a group of people that you know you're going to fit in with and that you feel comfortable with, but you're going to learn from as well. So I'm very acutely aware of all that, you know, so that's great. But the other job that I've just recently taken on as of yesterday, first day yesterday, I was saying to you, wasn't I, about it's an organisation called Down Tools CIC, and they're a community interest company, but they're also part of like the educational services. And it's this big drive to, you know, to hammer home to kids the dangers and, you know, the pitfalls of knife crime. I mean, it is something that's just so unbelievably necessary, according to children in our, you know, in our lifetime, that they've got to take a knife to school to be safe. I mean, how sad is that? I mean, we've got kids, you know, you and I, it's frightening to think that that's the only way that they can get through the school day, by having a knife on them, just in case anybody, you know, starts any trouble. So of course, we're, you know, this is what this organisation is all about. And as project lead, what's happening at the minute is they're going to the Wirral, the knife angel, this like 3.5 ton statue made up of 100,000 confiscated knives from about 43 police forces across the UK, is going to the Wirral. So what we need to do is we need to provide, you know, sort of literature, booklets, ebooks to schools, to youth clubs, you know, boxing clubs, whatever, with the aid of sponsorship, of course, local businesses. So, you know, apart from promoting their own business, they're taking part in this, you know, this fight against this very worrying trend. So I'm doing that as well. So again, I've moved from sort of like just doing a job for the sake of, you know, sort of earning a living and stuff like that. I still have to earn a living. Of course I do. But it was deep down in my soul that it was saying, do you know what? You can't continue to just go from one job to another, just doing the same thing that you were doing, because you're not getting, it's not feeding you, it's not feeding your soul. But when this came up, I thought that's feeding my soul. But a couple of weeks before, I was meditating and my guides were saying, you're going to work with children, you're going to work with things that are connected to children. And I was thinking, I couldn't be a nursery nurse. I thought that I was going to be a nursery nurse when I left school. I'm so glad I wasn't a nursery nurse. I love kids, but no way would I be a nursery nurse. So all I kept thinking in my mind was, oh, well, that's strange. I mean, how's that going to happen? But knowing spirit and working with spirit for obviously as long as I have, I sort of learned to trust them, and I just said, okay, we'll wait and see. And then the call came, and it was basically.
Isn't that interesting? Because when we last met, actually the time before that, we hadn't had a coffee.
We had that coffee, yeah. And you were so.
We were saying, well, I didn't. You had all the answers, and that's the main thing.
No. You were great. I mean, even again, you know, as simple a gesture as saying, like you did. We were like conversing on Messenger, and you sent a voicemail, and I remember saying to you that. To hear your voice, and you knew this, you said I just felt that, you know, you needed to hear my voice because I was a bit low ebb, wasn't I?
You were low energy, you were at a crossroads, and it was just like sometimes you need someone just to cheer you on and go, you can.
That's as I say, and that's what happened. You sort of like, you know, when you spoke on the Messenger, and I listened to that message, I was like, oh, bless her. And then to say, well, look, let's go for a coffee, and we did. Just meeting you and just listening to your advice and that, it was lovely. But that's important. It's important for me to give to others. You gave it to me. You give to loads of others as well. I mean, everybody that you support, you know, I bet they're just sort of like really, really, really glad that they've met you. Definitely, without a doubt.
Now, I do think, you know, we're sent in people's paths. And a lovely lady that I share a WhatsApp group with, you know, said it perfectly. It's a season, a reason, or a lifetime. And sometimes that reason isn't a negative. Sometimes that reason is just to learn something, to grow, to support, to cheer, whatever that reason is. Yes. It's a valuable reason. And I do believe that me and you were set in each other's paths. You know, all in this, okay, lockdown came and obviously, but what I love about our relationship is that we haven't really seen each other, but that one interaction, you know, it was like it had never been apart, and that being able to sort of say, I know you were at a crossroads and at a really low ebb, and then in a very short space of time, all of these things have just sort of dropped into place, and you're feeling fulfilled. And I know it only came yesterday, but it came in its right time. It came in its right time for you to glow and to shine the way you need to be shining. And my little voice note and my little coffee was like, whatever it was, just like a little pep talk.
It was. Because I really was at a crossroads. I mean, I've been sort of, you know, doing what I'm doing, working as I'm working, but knowing that this is just not, you know, it's not me, it's not fulfilling me and stuff like that. And no matter how much, you know, sort of advice you do get from your guides, they will only give you so much because you've got free will, and plus they're there to not tell you what to do. They'll never do that, but they'll, you know, put ideas in your head, or they'll give you some guidance. Fair enough, but you've still got to do it yourself. But I just needed a trigger point, and you were that trigger point. And I knew that if I did go out for coffee with you, I would feel a lot different when I'd finished with you. And it was true when we said goodbye, and, you know, like you toddled off.
Energized.
Whatever. Yeah, I did. I felt very energized. I got back in the car, big smile on my face, and it did. And it set the wheels in motion. It really did, Liz. And I want to thank you so much for that. I know I've said thank you before, but honestly, you
don't need to.
Underestimate. No, but honestly, I got in the car and I thought, right, this is what I'm going to do. If, you know, if this is what I want to do, then I'm going to do it, and I'm going to continue doing it, and I'm going to find ways of making sure that I do what I want to do. And this is what anybody listening now, you know, that would be the biggest thing I'd say to you. There are ways of you doing what you want to do, of you being able to do what you want to do. of course there's going to be things in your way. Of course there is. There's bound to be, and as you say,
but invariably,
to be learned.
But invariably we get in our own way, you know, like
Yes,
when we were having that conversation over the coffee, and a couple of ladies that I'm working with at the moment, it's like this negative thinking of people being judged. Who is it that's put a name to the people that are judging you? Give me a name. Give me the names. And no one can. No one can, because it's our perception of what other people are saying. Listen, let me tell you, there's people that are judging you and there is people that are hating on you, but they're not coming at you. And if they do, delete, comment and block. You know, they're relevant. Because I guarantee you, for every 5 that are hating and judging, you've got 15 that are going, go girl.
Exactly, you're right. You're absolutely right. And it is age-old sort of like traumas, isn't it? An age-old sort of conditioning that you've got to get out your head, you know. And for me, I know it was about that. It was about, well, do you know what? You know, you never really thought much of yourself when you were younger. You never really had anybody that was, you know, sort of encouraging you, whatever. I'm not saying, oh, poor me, whatever. But I'm trying to be very, very truthful with myself. And this is how I had to deal with it in order to sort of get through to the next step. So although I didn't have encouragement as such, there were people around me. Of course, there were people around me that maybe gave me some encouragement, but I don't feel that there was, it was sustained encouragement. So I was always thinking, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. And yet when I sort of wrote down in my journal, because I always keep a journal anyway, and it's amazing what comes out of that. But I sort of wrote down in the journal, well, do you know what? You're going to have to sort it out yourself. You can help yourself and, you know, get this sorted, get that sorted. But then when I look back over things that I have sort of achieved, and this again, what I would always say to people, you know, write a timeline of things that you've done in the past, recognize your achievements, and then still sort of like, you know, sit there and say, oh, I haven't really done anything. Look back and just sort of look at the achievement, and however big, small, you know, medium they are, their achievements, be thankful for them, but definitely shout them out, which is what you promote as well, Liz. You know, you were basically saying that.
It's human default. I think we're really we're in tune to kind of going, oh, I can't do this, I haven't got this. It's all the can'ts and shouldn'ts and shoulds, but we never sort of stop and look at our qualities or our gifts. And another thing that I really noticed what's happened, we don't champion each other. Like it seems to be a foreign thing to champion each other, whereas I'll champion anyone. I don't give a shit if, like if it's not even in my genre. I championed a garage the other day because they were so lovely. Like honestly, he filled my little heart, and just that good old-fashioned connection. But you're right, doing that timeline of things you have accomplished is really powerful, because it stops that self-defecation. You know, and we can start to self-celebrate. And I do think as a society we're driven not to celebrate, because it's conceited, it's you know, we're arrogant, or you know, we're cocky. Well, actually, they obviously, people do have that, but I don't believe in a good-hearted soul person that there's anything wrong in celebrating our accomplishments. Actually, it's really powerful to switch up your energy and look from where you come. I did it last night, part of my meditation, you know, because you know I'm shifting through something at the moment. I'm not going to reveal what, but I'm shifting through something at the minute, and that's okay, because there's change and there's growth. But it was kind of like, rather than staying stuck in the what ifs, what buts, it was kind of like, look where I've come from. It's been a really difficult 2 years, and look where I am. How beautiful. And I will celebrate.
You see, our brains are the culprit as well. You know, they literally, over 70,000 thoughts hit our head every day in our mind. A lot of them are recurring. Oh, should I leave the gas on? You know, I shouldn't have said that to that person. And it just keeps going over and over and over and over. So no wonder we're sort of like, you know, really stuck in mud. Sometimes we feel like we're sort of like trying to go through
onto the negative, and just latching onto the negative rather than latching onto the positive.
It's like a form of survival, isn't it? You know, you're hardwired to sort of think, well, okay, if I sort of look at the negative, there's where the dangers are. Let's work through them first. No, just take them away. And even something as simple as like just smiling for smiling's sake makes your brain think, oh, she's happy. I'll get some happy thoughts sent to her. But it's a really simple, you know, simple things like that, okay, we can say, oh, yeah, it's easy to do. But if you're not in that frame of mind, it's the worst and hardest thing in the world to do. It really is. Absolutely. But the championing of people, you know, great, Liz. I mean, you are an absolute star at that, and you know, I applaud you for that. I really do. But you're right, we should do that more, and we should, you know, we should sort of like do it a little bit for, in fact, do it a lot for ourselves and go, I'm not being big-headed, but do you realise, you know, I did this, and what's wrong with that?
I'm being big-headed.
But years ago, I would have gone, oh no, you know, I'd have like, you know, buried my head and sort of gone, oh, well, I don't really know what I've done, you know. But now I'm like, no, I've done this.
You have a
I've
gift,
done that.
and you bring. Yeah, and you have a gift, and you bring real comfort to people, and not just with your readings and you know, contacting your connection with spirit, but just what you have to present to the world. You know, you're an earth worker. You're a people person, and what that gift that you have. And I feel the same about myself. You know, like I love people, and which is why I set myself a task about every day. I compliment 4 strangers. It has to be a genuine compliment. It can't just be plucked from the air to fill this thing that I've set myself, but a genuine compliment. I complimented a woman the other day. She was stunning, a little waitress, and I just said, "Aren't you beautiful?" She had little tears in her eyes. Bless her, God love her, because I've been having a really bad day, and you've just lifted me. Now that's the magic.
Amazing.
Right there. A very simple sentence of giving somebody a compliment, and just seeing that, like that.
Yeah.
You know, like just giving someone a bit of love, a little celebration, a little bit, you know, and you know, it lifted me. I thought, good.
How lovely is that? But again, it works for you as well. It uplifts you as well. You think, well, do you know what? That was a lovely response that I got. I'm not doing it for a pat on the back. I'm doing it genuinely because I want that person to feel, you know, good about themselves. We don't know what that person was feeling before you said that to her. You know, that you've got to be aware of this. You know, you've also got to be aware that your negative thoughts and your, you know, your harsh words can have so much of an impact on people as well. I remember, I know we've only got a few minutes left, but I remember at school as well, because I'd sort of like, you know, was a very withdrawn child, very lanky, very gangly, and all the rest of it. I remember it started a bit of a thing in like the school in my class, that I was a freak of nature. And somebody actually said that to me. And do you know what? It's still stuck with me, and it still resonates with me now. And I'm like, you know, if I could go back and, like, you know, speak to that person now, I'd give them a piece of my mind. But at the time, it was enough to make me go further and further into myself. It was just awful because, again, you know, like I think I was about, I don't know, 9, 10, something like that. And of course, all this was going on, you know. Oh, look at her, freak of nature. And it really, really hurt. But, you know, I don't suppose anybody at the time, especially kids, wouldn't have realised what that did to me, or what, you know, how that made me then form a bit of a pattern. Oh, I'm not really worth anything. Oh, I'm a bit of a freak of nature. Oh, I'm really strange. Honestly, I mean, now I can sort of talk about it, but for years I could never sort of admit that. I can't believe that I've admitted it here, because everybody knows now, but there you go. But you know what I mean? So you've got to be very, very conscious of your words to others. You really don't know. You don't know.
Words have power. Words have absolute power. And, you know, for setting a task of doing something very simple, of complimenting somebody, that positive energy is reflected back to me. And so then I get that positive. Because trust me, sometimes I wake up and I'm like, oh, shoot my face. Come on, just shoot my face, because I can't be doing it. But just doing something, like being really grateful. You know, and I was teaching this gratitude practice to somebody, and they were like, well, I ain't grateful for nothing. And I was like, you live in a country where you're not getting bombed. How about that?
Yes. Yeah. You do sometimes need a nudge, don't you, to sort of remind you what you should be grateful of. And again, when you're sort of asked that at point blank, people always assume, I think, that you've got to think of big things. You don't. I'm alive. No. You know, I'm alive.
I'm breathing.
Good health, and my grandchildren.
I've got beautiful women in my life.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be big, you know. I was grateful. I'm grateful every morning when Oscar sleeps in his own bed, if I'm being really honest.
Oh, bless.
No, Rachel, it has been so lovely.
Thank you.
Hearing you. Oh, pleasure. Absolute pleasure. It's been so nice just chatting to you and hearing you. And yesterday was a real gift, and I appreciate that. I'd love to hear from my love. Oh, okay.
Oh, bless.
So, can you see that on the screen?
I can see that on the screen, and I'll make
contact. So you're going to make contact. Oh, you're an absolute angel.
Definitely.
So if anybody would like to contact Rachel, I've got all of her links that you need on the post that has been going around on social media. I've put all her links as well. If you know me directly, hit me up and messenger, and I'm happy to share her business contact details with you so that you can get a reading. We don't have a show next week. We're having a little bit of a break, but then I have the amazing Maria Ali coming on the following week, and I'm going to keep you all in a little bit of suspense. It's going to be sort of the start of the next line of shows. So Rachel, thank you so much for coming.
It's been lovely.
You are an absolute light worker, and I love you dearly. And we need. Oh, I'm coming on Saturday for a coffee and some crystals. Let's put it that way.
Well, this Saturday I'm not in because there's a 50th birthday party for my nephew in Hemel Hempstead, so I'll be well away from that place. But the following week, please come in and have a coffee. I'd love that. That'd be great.
I love you lots. Thank you so much for your time, and all the best. What's the charity called for the knife crime that you just got to work with? But let's give them another shout out.
It's Down Tool CIC Knife Crime Matters. So so there is a website, and you can donate on the page. You can literally have put a post on their website with your logo. It's an interactive logo. People click on it and go straight to your website. Fantastic. But